So the book is about Ben Franklin. The Poor Richard comes from Ben Franklin's almanacs. He published them over a span of 25 years, and he made a large part of his fortune from just that activity alone. Now, why did I choose Ben Franklin for this novel? In a way, he chose me. I got the idea for this novel many, many years ago. I gave myself a sabbatical, and one of the first works that I chose was Ben Franklin's autobiography, and I had read it previously, and for some reason or other, I had to read it again. And as I was reading it, I got this idea of what if Ben Franklin had to come back? And he just seemed, in that moment, the perfect character for it from what I knew of him at that time. He was just multifaceted. He was a Renaissance man, but he was approachable. He wasn't standing on a block of marble anyplace. He was real. And you could picture yourself sitting down with Ben Franklin and having a discussion, having a beer, and just bantering back and forth. So I tucked that idea away for about another 10 years, and then it revisited me. And so I started doing research on Ben Franklin. This was an enormous task because the man is so large. And so I had to sort of become him in order for him to articulate himself in the novel. And the way I did this was I read biography after biography after biography, but also his original writings, of which there are 38 volumes. And as this transpired, as this went on, I gained insights into Ben Franklin that I had not had or anticipated. And among these is his dismal failures as a husband and a father. He was atrocious. And this is a sad part of Ben Franklin's life, but that actually enriched Ben Franklin, because now we had a whole human being. We just didn't have this demigod. We had a whole human being. And that just contributed enormously to the novel. The other half of the research was site research. The second half of the novel takes place in Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. And it involves Ben Franklin seeing our world for the first time. And that immersion required that he see through his 18th century eyes, and therefore I had to see through his 18th century eyes. In the first part, Ben Franklin has been languishing in purgatory for the last 225 years or so. He's supposed to have been doing his work, contemplating his errata. Instead, he's added 12 more volumes to his autobiography. So he's brought up in front of a celestial court to force the issue, and he's examined there by 3 old arch enemies, including John Adams. John Adams was insanely jealous of Franklin. Early on in the celestial court scene, Ben Franklin is confronted by 13 virtues: industry, frugality, order, resolution, and similar. These are the 13 virtues he proffered as necessary or desirable in his famous autobiography. And what comes out of that confrontation is that these are all commercial virtues, necessary, in his view, for mercantile success. Then Ben Franklin is confronted by the 13 virtues he didn't mention, things like compassion, generosity, empathy. And what comes out of this is you see that we have built our nation mainly on exercise of the commercial, the masculine virtues, and we've left out the other. And this is sort of the springboard, the philosophical springboard that informs the entire novel, is this lack of balance in Ben's time, in his writing, in his philosophy, and then in America. And what occurs over the first part of the novel is that you learn things about Ben Franklin that I'm sure you didn't know. He had his warts. He participated in the slave trade. he advertised the sale of Negro slaves in his famous Pennsylvania Gazette. One ad in particular sticks out. It was an ad for a mother with 2 children, both under 5. And the ad read, "For sale together or separately." So this is the kind of thing that Ben Franklin participated in at that time. These things come out in the first part of the novel. In the second part of the novel, Ben Franklin comes back to Earth to bear witness to what has become of his dear country in the 225 years of his absence. And he meets a cast of characters, and these all elicit something about Ben Franklin's new approach to America and his own life. Okay, what does all this come down to? It comes down to, why would you want to read this novel versus the 100,000 others that are published every year now? I would answer by saying, if you like character-driven novels, literature, if you like Charles Dickens, for example, you're going to love this novel. Just for Ben Franklin's presence alone, I think you will just really, really enjoy this character. There's a lot of else in here too. There's a lot of humor. There's Ben Franklin's kind of humor in particular. As I said, often it's sardonic, it's ironic, it's clever, it sneaks up on you and zings you where you least expect it. But you also see Ben Franklin, especially in the second half of the novel, as you've never seen him before, and of course this is intentional. He's in our culture now. He ends up riding a Segway through the University of Pennsylvania at night. The circumstances of his getting that Segway are rather poignant, and there are a lot of poignant moments in the novel. It's also plot-driven. This is largely a redemption novel. It's Ben redeeming himself and also making some attempt at redeeming what he sees happening in the country. So there's all these elements interwoven in this novel. But primary number one is Ben Franklin himself. I think you'll fall in love.